Welcome to the Core A podcast. Today we're going to talk about the analysis video, How to Reduce Salt. And this video is kind of a sequel to the other video called The Effects of Salt. And so the effects of salt is kind of more about the how salt can inspire developers to change the gameplay. Like the big example in that one was Ed Boon, who basically wanted fatalities to be kind of the thing that happens at the end of the game, where it's like a stun mechanic kind of thing, but
Because he
it
felt
doesn't
bad
matter.
or something, right?
Yeah, because he hated the idea of stun in Street Fighter, and so
As the receiving end.
yeah, if you stun somebody in Street Fighter and you are the one who made the other person stunned, you feel awesome.
That's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
You get to freestyle. You get to do whatever combo you want. It's like almost like doing free throws in basketball. So it's interesting because the way salt is perceived by the players does affect how people design the games and make the games. But that was kind of the effects of salt. But this video is called How to Reduce Salt, which is kind of more about how can we play these games online or offline and manage these negative emotions you get when you lose or do badly, or sometimes even win. We talked about how you can even win a match but feel salty because your opponent was
Yeah.
playing in a way that you did not like, in a way that you didn't expect, right? So salt is a very complicated topic, but
Oh, wait. How long ago was the original video about the salt?
that was years ago. I want to
like-
say like 2018 or something.
Damn, all right.
That's like an
Yeah.
old school Core video. I think it's a classic. I think
Yeah.
XQC did a reaction to it, which means I
Oh,
guess
on the
it
Salt
was
video? I see.
He probably thought that video was pretty funny, I guess. But yeah, now we're talking about the new video, and from the beginning of the video, it's kind of it's funny because I put a very provocative interview piece with Punk, the Street
Caught a
Fighter
lot of
fight-
attention.
the Street
I
Fighter
think
player,
it worked to get the attention. A lot of mixed comments about it, which is, I guess, expected.
Yeah.
Because, like, one thing we got to know is YouTube commenters don't necessarily comment after watching everything. They just watch something, felt impactful, and then they might comment on it. And then sometimes I do notice people delete it after they watch the full thing because, what they wrote was totally wrong.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I would see on the admin side of the things, they would comment something about it which was expected, but very negative. It's like, something this, something that. Like my experience wasn't like that. And then it doesn't tell me that when they wrote it, right?
Oh.
There were some other video platforms that it tags the minute and the second timestamp on when they pause to make the comment. But
Okay.
YouTube don't necessarily have that unless maybe you like dig deeper. But I do notice later I refreshed the admin page and the comment is gone. I didn't delete it. They deleted it. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
that is the case in terms of the behaviors of the comments in your analysis video, which is pretty cool in a way because you did design the video to be in a storytelling way, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think the reason I put that at the beginning, originally it wasn't supposed to be at the beginning. It came later after I talked about how fighting games,
After
can make you
explaining
salty.
yes.
Yeah, like the Evo thing, how many entrants there are. But I thought this would be a good opener because it kind of shows that salt is just a part of these games. And even the best players, Street Fighter 6 Evo champion now, current reigning champion for Evo World, is saying these kind of things.
And the funny thing is, when we conducted the interview at Evo Japan, we didn't know he was gonna win.
yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
at the
it
Evo
was,
Japan 2024.
Yeah, it was and so that year he would go on to win in Vegas, but he didn't win in Japan. But we had no idea.
When you did the interview and as well as when he made those replies, the response was obviously in the past, right? Yeah, and it was awesome that he won. It made the story much better, I think.
Yeah, of course.
And he proved the point that whatever he mentioned at the start, he definitely meant that, and he himself proved it, which was really great.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody who gets salty, and doesn't like losing. He has that big kind of almost like a speech where he talks about like the best athletes, the people who really
Sure.
go places, they all get
He's not
salty.
wrong either. Yeah.
And so I think I want to establish that salt is just the nature of playing anything competitively. And I think that what he said was, I mean, it seems kind of crazy to think like, oh, even the families that come, like I love it when they're crying too, right? And a lot of people thought, oh, this is kind of going over the line. This is too much. But the thing is, it's always about the game.
Yeah.
So the crying and the tears are about losing in a game ultimately.
Sure. He didn't directly harm them. There was no intention of harming others, right?
Yeah.
It's purely the result of him performing better in the same sport that they played in.
Yeah. So it's there's something to be said about like competition in games where we do take it seriously, but at the same time, at the very end of the day, you have it's that meme. It's the hockey player like, well, you have to be mad, right?
It's just a game.
Yeah. It's just a game. Why you have to be mad? Yeah, it's
You had to do the tone.
Yeah,
Our listeners would be confused. Oh, did he just turn on the actual video? Or is it Gerald speaking?
No,
it is Gerald speaking, by the way.
That's a classic video. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is the very nature of being into this kind of stuff. This is what scares away a lot of people too.
Yes,
People
yes.
don't want to get into fighting games or competitive games in general because it is you do feel bad, and
I think the biggest factor is the emotion of don't want to be embarrassed in front of other people.
Yeah, well, there's like a shame aspect if you don't do well, and there's kind of I go through a lot of the cognitive distortions. We'll get into that in a second, but so basically the idea is that in order to reduce salt, you have to take these negative thoughts that you're getting before you even play in a tournament or after you lose or whatever. But in those situations, you're going to have these thoughts of anxiety and fear, and you don't want to be ashamed, and sometimes you don't want to be angry either. And in order to deal with that kind of stuff, you have to fix it in your thoughts, right? And that is the kind of the Stoic philosopher. What Epictetus says. There's that the quote. I don't know exactly.
It's the one
what it
with
is.
when you wake up in the morning, right?
Yeah. Well, no. That's
The one
that's a
before
different one.
that?
That's meditations.
Yeah.
This one is men are not disturbed by things, but the way in which they look at things.
Yes.
Like it's your thoughts,
The
right?
observation of things.
And the thing is, you can always challenge your thoughts, and it's easier said than done because when you're mad, you're just mad, right? You're just like there's nothing. No one can be like, well, it's in your head. You gotta fix what's in your head. It's like you gotta look at it differently. It's like, no, I'm just gonna be mad right now, and then maybe later when you reflect upon it, you'll think differently. But yeah. So there's 10 cognitive distortions that David Burns goes through in his book Feeling Good. That book is it's a general self-help book, and it kind of popularized the idea of cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's been used in so many by so many therapists. It's almost like the fundamentals, right?
A textbook even for some.
And it's effective because before cognitive behavioral therapy, I think it was mostly drugs that were prescribed for people. And drugs can work on people.
Like
right?
antidepressants and stuff.
Yeah, antidepressants and stuff. And that can work, but what's special about this cognitive behavioral therapy was that you can just change the way you're thinking, and it will change the way you feel. And so yeah, this is a best-selling book, and I got it during COVID because I think everybody was feeling a little bit down during that time. But I'm like, this is really good stuff that could apply to people who get salty in games too. Why not? And so I just there's a lot in the book. Of course, one video that's 20 minutes long cannot cover everything, but I did go over all 10 cognitive distortions, which I find are really interesting. And sometimes the way you're thinking might have, one cognitive distortion, or it can be like a combo of 3. That's one thing I didn't mention. But
if you didn't summarize or narrow down the script, how long would the video have been in your initial
if I wanted to go through
if you wanted to go deep into each topic of it,
I cut out a lot of it. There's one section about anger that I wanted to put in because anger is kind of what people think of when they think of someone getting salty, right? The salt compilations are always angry people, right?
Yeah.
It's rarely a salt compilation of somebody just like with their head down being like, I suck. Like that's not the salt compilations that you see. It's people throwing controllers, people swearing,
Expressive, yes.
people getting into fights. Those are kind of the the things that are based on anger. And so I cut out a big section of that. But I do want to make a follow-up video, and I'm working on that, actually. I'm in the scripting phase. I got a little behind because of I have to do a presentation for CGIS in Canada, which is an esports summit. But
if the video is not out by this podcast, then it's coming soon.
Yeah. So basically, I'm making a follow-up video on anger, and this is partially because I saw Brian F. talk about how to reduce salt, this latest video, and for him, it seemed like he had a kind of a more narrow definition of salt, and I had a more broad definition. And of course, I went more broad because I kind of wanted to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. But yeah, salt is a pretty broad thing. But when you think about salt in general, oh man, he's salty. It's kind of there's a lot of emotions, but anger is kind of like the one in the forefront. And so I do want to talk about that in the follow-up video. But for this video, I do talk a little bit about anger, but it's all the emotions that you get from salt. And if we start with the first cognitive distortion, all or nothing thinking, it's the idea that it's you have to be perfect, right? That you have to do everything right, and you have to do everything perfectly, and of course that's impossible.
Nobody's perfect, but we do aim for it.
Yeah, you wanna do as good as possible, but if you aim for perfection, if you're mad because you didn't do something perfectly, then you'll always be mad, right? Or if you're sad because you didn't do something perfectly, you'll always be that way. So the idea of perfection is, and I this is one of my big problems. I'm a very perfectionist person. People know that I work on, when I work on a video, I'm always trying to like make every single bit like as good as possible. And I have to just, at one point, in order to, I can't let perfect be the enemy of the good.
Sure.
Right. So once you're striving for perfect starts to damage your product, that's when you know you have to stop.
It also does have a side effect where when we spoke to James Chen about this as well, sometimes it does go a little extreme where you don't even start it. You have the idea of the perfectionism and have everything kind of planned out in your head, but it becomes so overwhelming to a certain point that it could sometimes make you not even start the project at all. So
yeah, exactly. It can be debilitating. And, even when you're playing in a match, like, if you play in a match, you're going to drop combos. Like, when you're playing a fighting game, we're all human, and we're going to mess up some stuff. I mean, we just saw Capcom Cup, and, people drop combos.
Even the
Blaz
highest players?
Yeah, Blaz dropped combos. The nerves got to him. He seems like the most, like, stable player. You watch him on stage, and he's not even reacting to wins or losses. Yeah, when you drop when you drop like a super or something that costs meter, it's like even more. It feels even more wasteful.
And if it did connect, it could have been the round ender.
Yeah.
But you drop it, and then the opponent comes back at you. It's the worst feeling. I think.
It is the worst feeling. But yeah, I mean, you can't expect that you're gonna nail every single combo in a tournament, and even people who win the finals, they drop their stuff too. So. You don't want that to be the enemy of the good, and of course, it makes you feel bad if you're disappointed in yourself because you didn't get like an A and you got a B this one time or whatever. And so, all or nothing thinking, that one seems pretty straightforward. The next one is overgeneralization, and this one's kind of interesting because overgeneralization is the idea that you are thinking that whatever negative thing that happened is going to keep happening. No matter what, it's just going to be the same result over and over and over and over again. And I used two examples of real world examples of like, going on a job interview or asking someone out on a date. This is where overgeneralization can really mess with you, because if you get denied or rejected or you didn't get the call back, then you're going to think, oh man, this is always going to be like this. So why even try, right? And I needed an example of like something in a fighting game where you do something that does take risk and possibility of getting rejected, but you can't let that mess with you. And the hell sweep was kind of my example for that.
Yeah, it's practical use.
Yeah, in Tekken 8 though, I think a lot of people don't use the hell sweep.
Yeah,
that much with Kazuya, I noticed. But I guess in Tekken 7, like a lot.
Tekken 7 and before. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at like Boa Loveby, I mean, he's known to be the guy that like
Yeah.
will never stop using Hell Sweep. You can block it like 5 times, and like he'll just keep on using it in the set.
Doesn't let him down at all.
Yeah. He knows that it's a strong tool, and he might have to change his timing or change his approach.
Yeah.
But he's not going to stop doing it, right? And that's the same thing with job interviews. Maybe your job interview didn't go well because you were too nervous, or you said something that you shouldn't have said, and then you could make adjustments. But that doesn't mean you should stop doing job interviews. You shouldn't give up on something that's good. Same with those moves. The same with like EXDP.
Yes.
In 2D games, reversals nowadays reversals are very high risk.
Yeah.
Because if they block it, they can do crush counter or
Punish counter,
punish counter, damage, and you just lose everything. And it's
The
such a huge
designers
risk.
of the game made it clear that if you throw something randomly, that you get punished for.
Yeah,
right?
but here's the thing: you cannot never do EXDP anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You can't if you just stop doing reversal. Well, now your opponent's going to smell that.
Yeah.
And like, oh, he's scared.
Scared.
So I'm just going to do meaties on him like every single time. And you can't be like that either. So this is why you see players like sometimes you'll see NL. He'll just like he'll get his DP blocked and he'll get hugely punished. And then on the very next wake up, he'll do it again.
He'll do it again. Yeah.
And so when it doesn't work, you're like, oh, why would he do such a risky thing? But when it
Right.
does work, you're like, okay, like that's the guy that you don't want to, you can never safely do, something on his wake up always.
Sure.
Right? Sometimes you have to just walk up and block. And so, that's kind of the 2D example, but I used a tech example on that one. Generalizations are sometimes kind of, they're useful in certain situations when other information and data is not available.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and when you go to Evo, you're playing against players that you've never heard of, and they can be really good.
Could
And
be more
sometimes-
dangerous than the top players, right?
Yeah, because so sometimes you have to generalize how they're going to play by looking at the first
Yeah.
20 seconds of a match. So
That's the real life usages of, I guess, over
generalization.
generalization. Just gotta draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, there's like over and under, right? But I guess the cognitive distortion is the over aspect of it. So
Yep.
yeah. So next one is a mental filter, and mental filter is basically when you take the good aspects and you hide them from your mind. You censor the good things about a situation, and you only look at what's bad afterwards. So if you lose a match, but maybe you finally landed that combo you've been practicing, you don't want to mental filter those kind of things, because you need to know that when at the end of the match there are some good things that happened. And if you landed that really hard combo for the first time in a match, but then you lose the match ultimately, you want to remember that you at least landed that combo,
Right.
and so you can at least be happy that some things went right. Of course, you'll be salty and you'll be like, this all sucks, but if you were able to do a couple of good things, I lost to Verloren in Street Fighter V in a I think it was in Vietnam. We're playing CPT.
Saigon Cup, I think?
Yeah, something like that. And I remember this was me being the opposite of mental filter.
Oh, okay.
Which made me really happy. Was I knew I was like, I'm probably not going to beat him. I mean, he's really good, right? But I was playing Akuma, and I did land a Raging Demon on him, and it killed him in a round. And he was like surprised. He was like, "What?"
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
All right.
I did a tick demon. Remember in Street Fighter V, you can do like a crouching jab.
Yeah.
And that's buffering
You
into
buffer the demon, walk a little bit, and then-
walk a little bit. So it's
yeah.
like a tick throw, but like instead of a throw, it's a demon.
Yeah.
So I did a tick demon on him, and that was the first time I landed that in a tournament.
Nice.
And that became my memory. So I did the opposite of the filtering out the good things.
Nice,
I actually
nice.
just focused on the good thing about that match. So yeah, mental filter is easy to fall trap into. And of course, Justin Wong says that, I mean, he looks at only the good sides of the moment 37, really. I mean, he got bodied and he was like salty at that exact moment, I'm
Yeah.
sure. He had his head down and everything, but overall, was he salty about the moment 37? I mean, how many like references and how many tweets and how much engagement does he get out of that?
It's shaped who he is today, and it's giving him a lot of praise for who he is now. So
And the way he
ultimately
handles it
worked out.
too.
Yeah.
He's like, he celebrates it, you know,
Yeah.
and he likes to
Sometimes
make
a
jokes.
little bit of meme involved, but still he's enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really strong. That's a champion mentality, right? To have to take something like that and make a, you know, if something embarrassing happens to you in life or whatever, if you can like joke and laugh about it later and laugh at yourself, that's a really good quality, right? It's a really good trait.
Even in Korea, I know most of the listeners aren't like Korean. There is a millennial term that is widely used nowadays. It's called 젖잘싸, which is short for 졌지만 잘 싸웠다.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I like
That's
that.
that's a thing that happens that people comment on like sports matches or
Yeah.
esports matches. So it's kind of like that. It directly translates into I lost, but I fought well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's like a 3-character kind of abbreviated into 3 characters.
The
so-
syllables, yeah.
Yeah, the syllables.
So it's
Okay.
it's a new way of like cheering up those who may have lost a match, but if they put up a good fight, then it was worthy of a praise kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. You want to remember that. Yeah. So don't filter out. You know, and a lot of people do this in real life where
Yeah.
they think that they're such a failure because they made like one error or something, but they're not remembering that they have a whole career of
Yeah.
success, right? And so that's a mental filter. Disqualifying the positive. This is the next one. This is kind of it's like mental filter, but it's a little more toxic for your brain because you take, instead of censoring the good things that happened, you take the good things and you transform it into a bad thing somehow, right? So disqualifying the positive is, I guess in the video, the example was like, okay, so with mental filter, you just ignore that you had like a 20 win streak and then you lost on the 21st game and you're salty about it, the way you
Oh,
lost.
right.
So you just forget about the 20 win streak that you had, right? But with disqualifying the positive, the reason why it's more toxic is you don't censor out the 20 win streak you had. You take the 20 win streak and then you somehow make that a bad thing. And the way that a lot of people do it is, well, those 20 wins don't count because they're all scrubs.
Right, yeah.
You know, so it's like, who cares? It's like, dude, why are you so mad? You lost one game after a 20 win streak. It's like, those 20 wins don't count because it was all against like shitty scrubs.
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay. So when people say like, oh, that doesn't count or whatever, then they're disqualifying the positive, that's actually like really a powerful cognitive distortion because it's
Yeah.
like now you're like actively trying to like make yourself
Hating
feel
yourself
bad.
or
Yeah, like now
something,
you're
yeah.
hating on yourself. It's just like that's like in the book, David Burns' book, he actually one of the examples he uses for analogy for what disqualifying the positive is he calls it like it's like some kind of alchemy. You know, you take the good thing and then you just use some kind of like
Magic powers, yeah.
to make it into like a bad thing and just turning this
yeah.
thing that's just inherently good into something bad. It's like, what the heck?
Like,
Like,
why would you, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
my experiences, I think I'm also a little bit guilty of this when I was younger. And also, I think it has a little bit of reflection on culture and etiquette as well.
Yeah.
Wherever region you're from or where your livelihood was. I think East Asians especially, they have not everybody, but in my kind of experience living under a East Asian family and relatives, is that sometimes they had to hide their true emotions of happiness in front of, like, if there were elderly people or if you're at a very serious environment like at your workplace where if they give you a compliment, they don't
Yeah.
say, oh, thank you right away.
Yeah.
They would say, oh, it's nothing. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
actually, you know what's interesting about that is, so you know, I was born in the U.S. and I kind of grew up in a household that was, I would say, more you know, Western culture,
Right.
more American culture. My dad's very you know, American in his
Sure.
in culturally.
Yep.
And when I came to Korea, I remember there was like a book about like cultural differences. It was like a cartoon, so it was like very
I think
simple.
I have a similar experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like kind of trying to teach like a cultural difference thing, and like
Yeah.
this was meant towards like people from Western cultures.
Yeah, yeah.
And that exact moment you're talking about was in there was a cartoon where like it showed like some American teacher like praising praising an exchange student, like
Sure.
a Korean exchange student.
Yep.
And the student was like, "Oh no, I'm not that good. Or,
Right,
I'm not
right,
that
right.
smart." And then walks away,
Yeah.
and like the teacher's like confused, like, "What the heck?"
I just complimented this guy.
Yeah,
Why
compliment
is
this guy.
he-
He's just like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
that's I'm," and like you kind of do that in terms of etiquette because like the word for "you're welcome" is very
That's-
different in different cultures,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And within the cultures, there's different words for "you're welcome."
Mm-hmm.
If you think about thank you and "you're welcome," "you're welcome" can be seen as kind of arrogant.
It
Like
does.
"you're welcome."
Yeah.
It's like, "Thank you, you saved me. You did all this." Well, you're welcome.
Yeah. Sometimes they say you're welcome before you even say anything, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
As a sign of like
someone doesn't
I
say
am higher
thanks.
than you or something like that. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're expecting thanks and someone doesn't say it, you can go up to him and be
Yes.
like, "Well, you're welcome."
It is a double-edged sword. in a way.
Yeah. So there's many different ways of saying "you're welcome" in our language, and in English you can say stuff like it's nothing, no problem.
Yeah.
These all kind of mean "you're welcome," but they're different things. But when you say something like "it's nothing," then you're also saying that what you
You're
did
disqualifying,
you're disqualifying
their
your contribution.
gratitude. Yeah.
Well, their gratitude is fine, but you are taking their gratitude and
like just throwing it away,
oh,
right?
well,
Yeah.
you're blocking it. You're
Right,
not throwing
right.
it. You're just kind of like it's like
Right.
that it was nothing. So
Something
saying
that you
thank
could have received for free.
Yeah.
And like willingly, voluntarily by the other person, but whatever got into you is blocking it for some reason.
Yeah. In Spanish, there's was it de nada, which is like of nothing, right? So gracias and de nada is like it's like thank you of nothing, and so you're saying that whatever thing that you did was nothing. But I mean, these are just kind of phrases.
Usually
and
they
sayings.
are.
No one overanalyzes
Sure.
them, right?
It is definitely an expression to. It's a variation of a thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But I guess my point is, I think multicultural backgrounded people are already kind of passively going through some sort of cognitive distortion because they have to kind of translate not just the language, but the culture itself based on who you're talking to, who your target audience is.
Yeah.
They're more, I think, trained in that sense. If they are in a different culture, if they're known, I guess, whether it's by experience or whether they've learned off of a book, they take it very carefully, right?
Yeah. I guess to even add to the point about the cultural aspects, I kind of I didn't really talk about this in the video, but I allude to it a little bit later. If you look at Ryu, like I
his
must train
famous
harder.
Quotes, yes.
Yeah, but like for you, Ryu's kind of like a cartoon character. Nobody can be like Ryu. You'd be so sad and depressed all the time if you're a Ryu because you could never be happy. Ryu's the ultimate perfectionist, right?
Right.
He like bodies you in Street Fighter 4.
Yep.
And then he's like, I have to train harder. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Then like what about the person that's laying on the ground? And
Yeah.
I put a little reference to that, like, WTF, what am I
Yeah,
then?
that was funny.
Yeah, so it's
Even his infamous Street Fighter 2 ending, he skips the ceremony and walks away
yeah.
from winning the tournament.
Yeah, 'cause
Like,
you can't-
these people, the TOs have set a stage for you,
Yeah.
and you just walk away.
Yeah. What the heck?
What,
You're too
they worked night and day for this.
Yeah.
To put you on the podium and give you the medal and, say like give you a chance to say a speech in front of the audience who are focusing on you.
Yeah.
They set the stage. They had to hire people. They had to hire the venue, the
that's
lighting,
so funny.
camera, production, and you walk away.
Yeah. No, it's so fun. I love the TO perspective of the Ryu
Yeah.
ending in Street
Yeah,
Fighter 2.
Street Fighter 2 is a tournament. There
Yeah.
are TOs.
Yeah, there are people and like was it Sagat and Bison? They were good dudes.
Yeah.
Ryu's the real bad guy here.
Oh, my God.
Ruining it for the
Yeah.
the TOs. Complaining about the laggy monitors.
Yeah. You see, so what we're saying is Alex Jabali is actually M. Bison.
Yeah.
He's the boss, set up the stage, and whoever won the tournament walked away. No wonder he's so angry.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
gonna set up a next tournament to see you again.
Yeah.
Let's see if you walk away again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Classic TO life.
Yeah, it's funny because Jabali does play in his own tournaments.
Oh,
so,
damn.
Yeah, he needs to win like a CEO in a game. That'd be pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
One day,
Yeah.
maybe one day.
Okay, so that was kind of disqualifying the positive. We went on a big tangent there, a cultural tangent, but it's a very interesting one
Yeah.
for sure. So there's jumping to conclusions. So this one's a big one. This one can mess you up even before you play in a tournament or play online.
I think it happens very frequently too for
Yeah.
most people.
Jumping to conclusions, of course, there's two different types. There's the one that's called mind reading, and the other one that's called wait a minute. There's a
The fortune teller.
fortune teller effect. So there's
Yeah.
mind reading, and then there's fortune telling. So mind reading is when you think that you know what other people are thinking. So this happens so much online. Like when
Online
you're
is
playing
the
online,
way this kind of expanded more, I think.
Yeah, you automatically think the other player like hates you and thinks you're you know. Obviously some players will like really taunt you like a lot
Right.
or whatever, just like because they do disrespect you. But a lot of the time they're just playing their game, and you're just like, oh, you know, like look at that guy. Who does he think he is? Remember when
Yeah.
that guy was wiggling, the Ryu player?
Oh,
It's like, oh, that guy thinks
yeah.
he's the shit because he's like trying to like wiggle in his footsies
Yeah.
with Ryu. Like, look at who does he think he is? But then that guy probably just saw like Daigo do it one time and puts it into his gameplay. But we're like,
Yeah.
oh, look at that guy, you know. So that tendency is real to try to read the other person's mind when it's an online thing, because you can't really talk during the game.
Yeah. Or you
So
don't even know who they look like.
you don't know
Yeah.
what they look like. They could be like a kid playing on the other side. You don't know where they are. There's so much you don't know anything about this
Yeah.
person, and you're like attributing what they're thinking by one match
Yeah.
in a round or something. And so it's
Not even one
rational.
match, just a simple gesture
A moment.
within. Yeah.
a moment. So like it's like even something like somebody does a combo at the end and does like a level 3
Right.
to finish the round when they didn't have to do it. It was
Right.
it had a sliver of health. They could have just done a DP to end the combo, and that would have been the end. But they did the level 3 with the whole animation, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, this person's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
And it's like.
He made me watch the whole
He
animation.
made me watch the whole animation, but maybe it was just in that player's muscle memory. Maybe
Yeah.
they just like did level 3 as muscle memory, and they weren't making you want to do that. Okay, I'm guilty. I sometimes make people watch the animation.
Oh, right,
'cause,
right,
like,
right.
I know you're guilty of this.
I do a lot, but I don't do it intentionally to make them watch it. I think when I'm playing casually, I do that often.
Yeah.
But when I play like a serious match, I think the aspect of I have to make sure the opponent dies got into me more.
Oh,
so
okay.
so naturally making that happen more unintentionally. So
yeah, but see, that's an interesting insight.
Yeah.
If you're just mind reading, you're not going to assume that. Right?
Yeah, of
You're
course,
not going to
yeah.
think like, oh, my opponent, was just in the competitive mindset to make sure that he gets to kill, and that's why he made me watch the animation. That's
That's not the first translation that you get in your head.
Yeah, in your head, it's going to be like, oh, that person has no respect for me, and that's why they're doing that,
Yeah.
And so there's that, but then there's also the fortune teller effect, which is that's the one that even before you go to a tournament, this is like the fortune teller effect is what stops a lot of people from entering tournaments or even
Yes.
picking up a fighting game because they don't want to be salty or they don't want to be feel like they embarrass themselves in front of everyone. And of course, I use the example of Carrie, which is a horror movie from the 70s. I think they made like modern renditions of it, but this movie is a classic one where I think the main character, she's like from a very very conservative like crazy like
internal kind of person.
No, it's like a crazy like a cultish religious
right.
family, and she's like, and they're super conservative, and basically like she's just a normal girl who wants to go to prom and live a normal high
life
schooler
person.
life or whatever, and
Yeah.
basically she gets the idea in her head that they're all gonna laugh at you. It's just very abusive mother who just says like they're all gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you. Like when she's at the prom. And,
very traumatic.
Yeah, it's very traumatic, and then of course it happens, and then she loses it, and like all these like all her like powers and stuff come to play, and like it starts causing havoc. And it's a classic movie, but it's definitely a moment of you tend to fortune tell in a lot of situations when you don't need to. Like if anything bad happens, like a lot of people who like are having a baby. My friend just had a baby a few days ago, and I talked to him yesterday about it. And anybody who's having a baby, usually the birth goes well, but there's always some kind of like, oh, wait a minute, we need to. There's like some kind of slight contingencies here and there, like, oh, the heart rate is going down for some reason, and even though it's nothing, your mind is like, oh, this heart rate's going to go all the way down, and the baby's going to die or something, and like these thoughts get into a lot of people's heads during that time.
Sensitive, yes.
Yeah, it's very sensitive situations, and I think David Burns in his TED Talk actually talks about complications at birth, where he was fortune telling all these bad things that would happen to his child, and he used his own techniques. To calm himself down, and then it turned out that the child was fine. So and he went on stage and like he cried, and it was like, I don't know, so this is TED Talk.
I guess it is like a little sprout from if you're over affectionate onto someone or something, then sure, these thoughts of concerns can kind of develop into those.
Oh yeah. To have a kid, to love someone that is to worry.
Yeah.
Anything that you love or care about deeply is is what that means to worry, right?
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, of course, it's not, you don't want to worry for no reason. If you really like somebody and they're not sending a text message, maybe you have some unrequited love and you really like somebody, and you're like, oh, they're not responding with the text message, and
I used to get similar things in work environments too. Like I would be like streaming an event.
Yeah.
And then I would get either text messages or someone would tap me on the shoulder and actually, thankfully, reminding me of something that I didn't really ask for, but they reminded me of something that I should, like, say, you make sure to turn the sponsor's ad on or something like that.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very grateful. And it was kind of also like an assuring kind of thing where, those kind of friendships are where people come and just remind me. Because they definitely worry about this whole production and the event going well, right? So those are really grateful moments in work environments as well.
Yeah, those acts of care and stuff to get you to worry less. And this is what I talk about later in the video. I talk about like if you have friends or people who care about you, generally they're there to make you have less cognitive distortions. They try to say things that will fight your cognitive distortions. But then a bully will do the opposite, right? Or somebody who's like manipulative will do the opposite. They will say the thing that they'll say, oh, that cognitive distortion that you have in your head, it's right.
Oh.
It's true. You are worthless.
It's like the devil and the angel thing.
Well, but it's like it's that's about like the conscience. This is more about like when you have a cognitive distortion, you're like, oh, I'm such a failure at this game. Your friend's going to be like, no, you're not. You just, you had a bad run this time. And then like a bully will be like, yeah, you are a failure at this game. You should stop playing forever, right? It's same thing with like jumping to conclusions and stuff. I use a text messaging example, which is that was in David Burns' book. Sometimes somebody doesn't return a text message, and it makes you wonder if they're mad at you or something. But then like in sometimes in hard to get dating games, or there's sometimes like, oh, you have to text but you cannot respond immediately, because if you get a text and you respond immediately, it means you're needy, so you have to like delay responses on purpose. And it's just like for me, I'm just like, I respond whenever I have the chance. That's it. Like, but like I guess that's if people are playing these games with each other, that can be one of those things, and they take advantage of that. It's psychological warfare.
Text messages are funny because sometimes, like, my friends sometimes go, man, like, you respond to my text message so fast. Like, are you just on the phone all the time?
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I mean, it just like, it pings a message or like a sound, like an alarm when someone messages me. So to me, it's like just a normal behavior.
Kevin, I think you're awesome, and I think everybody needs to be like you, because people need to respond to their text.
But people think it's surprising that I respond so quick. Like it's like like as if nobody does that.
That's because you're a good person. You're a good person. That's what that means. No, that's yeah. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you don't know what to say at the moment, like how to respond. So you kind of have to think about it. You do something else, but no,
I'm not saying. See, I'm not overgeneralizing that those people who don't do that are bad.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think whatever I'm doing was praiseworthy, because I thought, I heard something and I replied back like, what's so hard about that, right?
It's a good thing.
like-
You should be praised to the ends of the earth for that.
Awesome.
Magnification minimization. So this one is where you take something that's bad and you just blow it out of proportion, and then you take the good things and then you make it like not that important, right? And so in these cases, magnification is sometimes known as catastrophizing, when you think that something is really the end of everything. You know, it's game over. People will catastrophize because somebody got a buff. Like, this character was strong in this game,
right.
and then the next patch comes out, and then they buff that character, and they're like, "Oh my god, this character is just gonna destroy the game." You know, they'll catastrophize, right? And usually that's not the case, because the meta will develop, and you'll see that it's not as bad as you made it out to be. But that is kind of the crux. That is kind of the engine that fuels social media in a way, when you catastrophize things and make a big deal out of things. And I think I use a example of I guess catastrophizing is an example in this one is the taunting. Right?
Yeah,
And
taunting and like teabagging.
yeah, taunting and teabagging and all that. So that kind of stuff is interesting, because the moves have to be useless for it to work. Because if you did something that was like useful, that's like people see that as like, oh, they're just playing the game.
Yeah.
But once they do something that's kind of like not necessary, or like even if they're using like a move that like no one ever uses to finish a round or something, you see that kind of like they're just playing with you, they're toying with you.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, because you can really, if you think about it objectively, what they're doing in the game is like they're not doing anything
Right.
like to you in the game. In the game, it's like an
Part of the game.
animation
Yeah.
or something. It's like, you're not gonna, taunting, like someone teabags you, that doesn't take away your health. That doesn't like make your meter go down. I guess in Art of Fighting it did, right?
In Art of Fighting, it was an actual thing. Yeah, you had to taunt to keep their meter down consistently.
Yeah.
And the opponent to counter that is not to attack you. They had to charge the key,
Yeah, that's
charge the
right.
meter. So it was like a stalemate thing. It's like, oh, one of you have to give up to actually engage. Otherwise, you're just going to be full screen. One of them is taunting and one of them is charging their meter.
Yo, man, Art of
Yeah.
Fighting.
That was a real meta.
Yeah, it's Art of Fighting's so ahead of its time. Think about it. Like,
Yeah.
there's mechanics in games now that have, of course, charging your meter,
Yeah.
right, function. But that one actually had one where you could make your opponent's meter go down through
Yep.
the taunt. That's
Yep.
so clever. But like I said in the video, if the taunt has an actual purpose, then the players don't see that as a taunt
taunt at
anymore.
all.
They just see it as like a buffing. And the big one is, the most obvious one is Third Strike.
Yep.
When Ken does the taunt. The people who actually play Third Strike and who don't really play the
Yeah.
game, by how they react to that taunt. They'll see like, oh my god,
It always
that
happens.
guy's taunting. Yeah, it's
you
just
can
like,
never have a venue full of everyone who knows Third Strike.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
you
true.
see a Third Strike, even like pools is whatever. Even if you think, oh, by the top 8 and people who are actually watching top 8, you would think that majority of the audiences know the game, but you still get the oohs and ahs whenever these taunts happen. And it's just part of the game. It's not even the character.
Yeah.
Everybody has taunts that has an effect that makes you stronger, or is part of an attack or something. So
Yeah, exactly.
to the veterans, it's like Tuesday.
Yeah.
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 But for the audience, it is a cool sight to see. And I guess it's part of the game, and as well as part of the community. It's up to the veteran players to explain that to the newer players. Oh, that is the case, and that's how we kind of all mingle together. So
Yeah. So that's magnification, and of course, minimization is downplaying your accomplishments. I use an example of like, okay, you won an Emmy award, but if you compare it to an Oscar, well, that's not that big of a deal.
Comparison.
Yeah, when you start doing, there's another Korean term about comparison, which is it's one of those 3 character abbreviations.
Right.
It's 엄친아.
엄친.
Yeah, that's
right.
like 엄마 친구
아들.
아들.
Yeah.
So that literally means mom's friend's son.
Yep.
And I don't know if, like, for a lot of Koreans growing up, their mothers will compare you to their friend's son.
Yeah.
And
I
to
think
make
this
you
is
get
global
good.
phenomenon, not just Korea. but
Yeah, I don't know, like that. But that's the Korean term for it.
we
so.
have a term for it. That's why it's more focused in that
but
sense.
but it's if there's a term for it, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of prevalent. So
I guess in English it's more like that friend. You know,
Well, yeah,
quote
or
unquote
like-
that friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing about omchina is kind of like it's like you're reminded of that person.
It
right?
is funny, although it just says your mom's son.
Yeah.
It is they're always better than you.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. They're always better than
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, like, but then at one point it's funny, like, I mean, they're not saying it like, oh, you're not as good as us.
Right, right,
Usually
right.
they'll be like, oh yeah, well, Dorothy's son, got into a really good school,
Yeah.
like Harvard
Or got
or something.
good grades
Or got all A's this time. And it's
Yeah.
like you're like, oh shit, like I got to step on my game, I guess.
See, the trap is they don't tell you that you should do better. They don't tell you that.
No,
But
no.
they just say that, and then that's the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you
to get good, right? Like get better. And at one point, I think I remember there was one moment where like I think my mom said something about like this. I don't know. It was like maybe it was a friend's son or somebody else. And I think I just straight up told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think that guy's a loser. Like, why are you like I'm better than that guy in every way. Like, why are you
Damn.
telling me
Alright.
this? Like, it was like one moment. Like, I don't know. I just said that because like I was like, wait a minute. Like, I mean, I didn't.
I'm being compared to a loser.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. I was just like, I don't know. I got like super confident. I'm just like,
Right.
oh man, like I'm way cooler than that guy. Like, why are you? And then after that, she just stopped.
I think I had a similar incident where, so you know how moms like gather at one place to like have a chat in the tea time, whatever, and my place at once, all the moms gathered from the neighborhood, and then they were having like dessert and stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, and then I came back from school, and then I say hello to everyone. Just go to my room, right? But it seems like they were talking about like everyone's exam results, their children's exam results.
Okay.
And then they were discussing, oh, my son or daughter got this, like, say, like 50 out of 100 or 80 out of 100, whatever. I'm assuming that was the case. And then my mom, now it's my turn that I came home, right?
Yeah.
And then my mom wasn't the most pleasant in her tone when she was asking me because she was worried that I'd be lower score than them.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was like, and mom's like, did you have an exam today? I'm like, yeah. All right. What did you get in the score? And I'll be honest, I'm not trying to be like a smart ass, but like, I didn't study for the exam. I just did it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a genius. I just did it, right? I
Okay.
didn't care because I was a kid, I just wanted to
Yeah,
like, play
you
games
wanna-
after
you
school,
wanna
right?
practice your DPs, right? Yeah.
So I'm like, I just gave mom the exam paper and then that's it. And then later that night, I found out I got the highest score out of all the, yeah.
Oh man.
So she got me like pizza and chicken.
Oh,
and
the mom's
for dinner.
friends' kids all suck.
I bodied them.
He bodied them
I passively
free.
bodied them
And
by
you didn't even
doing
brag.
my everyday stuff.
Wow, it was
Yeah.
Tuesday to you.
Yep,
Yeah,
pretty much.
Wow,
I forgot what the score was, but judging by the gifts that mom gave me, I think I won.
Oh yeah, I know you crushed.
So
them.
that happens, yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. Yeah. So that's minimization. I didn't think that we'd get into like this.
Yeah, I
phenomenon.
mean it happens in our lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the point of the video, right? It's not just I use games to talk about it because it's fun to talk about salt.
It's a good way to communicate.
Yeah, but
yes.
you can
apply in
apply it
everyday
to
life.
anything. Yeah. Emotional reasoning. This one's an interesting one that when I read this book for the first time, I was kind of like I kind of didn't understand it, and it hit me when I was thinking, oh wait, this is not about like words in your mind. This is about how you're feeling. Your body is reacting and feeling, right? And it's basically emotional reasoning is like you might be shaking, right? Because you're nervous about something. But just because your body is shaking and you're nervous doesn't mean that the situation is necessarily worthy of you being nervous.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's bad or it's going to be bad or the way that you're feeling is not evidence for what's happening in the situation. So this is like, and we do this a lot when you're playing a game. You might be thinking like I'm playing terribly because you like dropped the combo, but then you still win the round. It's like, well, I mean, are you actually playing terribly? You could feel like you're playing terribly, but does that actually mean that you're playing terribly? And if you listen to the commentators versus the way you play, I don't know if you've done this where you hear commentators talking about your play and the way that you felt in the match. A lot of the time it's very different the way that they're seeing it, right? So, so emotional reasoning, I use Phoenix Wright. in the video about like this wouldn't pass in a court case. Like, it's just it doesn't make any sense that feeling a certain way means that is evidence that
Right.
the situation is just like that, right? So
Because what you're feeling is also a reaction that came to a result of what you've experienced in the past, and everything calculated, and whatever the result would be is your feeling. But then I guess there's a fine line between your feelings from reacting from something, as well as your instincts. Your instincts is something that happens even before you think, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it's like that little undiscovered realm in between the two.
Yeah.
How do they two communicate in order for you to come to the feeling that you think is necessary versus the actual timeline that's flowing that happened before you even think about.
Yeah, so I think this is you're touching upon instincts, human instincts, right? And I guess if you not to get so much into like evolutionary biology.
I mean, we're not scientists.
Yeah,
but
we're not biologists or whatever. But I mean, it does make sense that if you see something in the shadows, at night, it's probably better for your survival if you're just afraid of it and you run away.
So that you
even
are
if it's
prepared.
nothing.
Yeah.
If it was nothing in the shadow, it was just a small animal that doesn't do anything, and then that's enough to scare you and make you run away. It's still the safe route, right?
Sure.
So for survival, that's very good. Because it could have been something very dangerous, like a poisonous creature.
I heard about this. Like a fear is actually the mechanism for you to prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But the thing is, you also don't want to be fearful when you have to fight.
Sure.
For example,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so it's the emotion that you're feeling. Yeah, there is a survival. That's why in the video I have an example of like. I think Cody was walking into Castlevania.
And then you just
Castlevania
like,
scene, and he's just like, no, I'm not
nope.
going, because he sees like, your instincts, like if you see like a lot of dead bodies, and it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't, go in here.
See, when I saw your depiction of that in the video, when you showed me the draft, the immediate thought that I had is when I was like 6 years old and entering the arcade for the first time.
Oh,
For me, I did have that feeling, a irky feeling.
yeah.
But as soon as I saw the sound effect of Shoryuken,
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to see this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of environment, I'm sure many people who grew up in the arcades, or like even if in the modern day, say you're going to your first major, it can be very overwhelming just from the outskirts of it.
Yeah.
But I guess something that draws you in, that you become the part of the FGC.
Yeah, that's
and all
when
that.
your passion beats your fear.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to overcome your fear in order to do, go into new things and explore new activities and hobbies and whatnot. And I think, like you said, what you were mentioning is that your passion for the thing like overcame your fear. Even in the arcades, you're going to this arcade where it seems like there's like a bunch of mean kids there, but then you hear the sound effects of the game. You're like, oh, these games are going to be awesome. And so you were more interested in the game than you were afraid of the environment.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
some people definitely have the courage to go through the adventure.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Should or must statements. So this is the next part. Should or must statements are kind of this is where anger is very prevalent. This is a section where I took out the anger part, and I'm going to put it in the follow-up video. But there's a psychotherapist, Albert Ellis. He's in the video. He's kind of one of the pioneers of this kind of cognitive behavioral therapy. He contributed a lot, and he made a term called musturbate.
Yeah, that was interesting when I first heard it.
Yeah,
as well.
and it's basically when you just keep on saying must, this must be like this, that person must do that, I must be treated better, the world must be safer, must, and if you get stuck on that, the idea is that you will feel terrible because if something must be a certain way and it's not, then you're like, screw this world, screw that person, life is terrible, all that negative stuff. But if you were to frame it in a way where it's like, I'd prefer if people were nicer. I prefer if I didn't get hit by so many wake up DPs.
Yeah.
I prefer when you say it like that, it actually does something psychologically to you that will make you feel better than if you were to just use must or
Yeah.
should. Should and
Same-
must are interchangeable here.
Same or similar results, but if it makes you feel better, then like why not, kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's pretty much the same. It's not exactly the same, but it'll get you like it's like 95% the same,
Sure.
and you'll feel better. And so like if you look at like Ryu, I use the Ryu example again. He says I must train harder, and Ryu, man, I mean that guy, he's on another level.
Is
of,
either a robot or just like
He's
I think
never
it's mind
happy.
controlled by something that he has to be like infinitely working hard.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he can never be happy, right? And so
When will he be happy? That's when Street Fighter ends, I think.
yeah, whenever like Ryu just like enjoys a beer on a beach, like
Right.
that's like the end of Ryu, right? It's like something has really just
That's also why
messed him
Ryu
up.
can never be top tier. If it's top tier, then Street Fighter will be boring.
oh man. So now you're saying his philosophy isn't even helping him get that good.
Whenever
He's just
we
making
get-
himself unhappy for no reason.
I guess he has to be mid tier forever, I guess.
I mean, Ken
Yeah.
is like higher tier in like most of the Street Fighter games, anyways.
Yeah.
So I guess
But
Ken's
then Ken
approach
never
better.
is like, oh, I want to be strong, whatever.
Yeah.
Ken's went up and down. He's the real life depiction of what a real warrior is. He's gone through ups and downs in the latest iteration. He's like broke.
Yeah, well, he's a
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
Ryu is not human.
Ryu is I
a-
think I'm theory I'm theory crafting this. I think Ken is an actual protagonist and Ryu is just his like mindful identity that just is symbolized as a human.
Oh,
Yeah.
you think like
Ryu
like,
is like if you want to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's what Ken wants to be, but can never reach.
Yeah.
But Ken is the real protagonist, the
yeah,
human.
He's a human aspect. Yeah, and then, the Ryu, I can see Ryu being Ken's basically like cognitive distortions. Like he's
Sure.
an embodiment of Ken's cognitive
Yeah.
distortions, but also a playable character.
They're not just palette swaps.
Okay.
They're philosophical beings.
All right,
Yeah.
I like that
We're
interpretation.
going so deep.
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
going really deep.
Yeah.
But anytime I can criticize Ryu's character,
Yeah.
I'm down for it. It's really funny.
And then, if I wanted to be more crazy and go further, then we have Evil Ryu, who's the worst case scenario if Ken actually became the violent Ken.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's like the angry character.
Yeah,
right.
That'll be the part of your follow-up video,
Yeah.
the Evil Ryu version of how to reduce salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the should or must statements. There's a section about anger that I took out because it was because like what do you do when you think someone should do something and you're angry and it's actually like serious thing. Like this is where you get into activism, right?
Yep.
When you're like you're justified in your anger and you are and your anger is your fuel to push change to whatever you feel is like an injustice in the world. That is
you-
when you get into activism.
Feel the need to let other people know, kind of thing.
Yeah, you want other people to know through your anger. And I mean, you see it on social media all the time. There's armchair activism, there's actual activism, like going outside activism,
Yeah.
and everything in between. And so anger is kind of a complicated topic in that how do you know when to stop being angry? And there's a way to decipher it. At least there's a framework that David Burns has that's actually like pretty useful. Doesn't answer every question about anger, but it's very useful. I think it's useful to the point where I was going to put in the video, but it was too long, and that will be in the follow-up video that I'm working on right now. So that's the thing about anger.
Relatively put, and also as us being humans too, either on the receiving end or if you do witness that sort of anger as a third party, it also I'm not saying that we have the responsibility, but also kind of have to have a similar idea to not get kind of spiraled up in it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's when you have to let go at a certain point.
yeah. Otherwise, you just become the
Evil Ryu.
well, that, and plus like, you unintentionally become the megaphone of that anger that you were originally not involved in. So
Yeah.
I think it's more of a healthier choice for you to have the right judgments based on your experiences.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for the next follow-up video. I wanted to work on it, but got caught up in this Siege's event. But that will also be extra content for you guys. Probably come out on the Kore Lounge channel.
Yes.
But moving on, we are now at labeling, which is this one's kind of straightforward. This was kind of a fun one because I used the label maker in our office.
Literally labeling.
Yeah, and I was labeling people. I was putting these stickers like loser on them, and was it mashing scrub? I put that one on you while you were.
I was the mashing scrub.
You were the mashing scrub, yeah. And so labeling is very, you're just saying something, and you're turning somebody into like a caricature. You're just turning them into something that like that's what defines that person, right? And obviously, humans are more complex than just what little tiny label you can make on them. But of course, it feels good to label people when you're pissed off.
It's I guess it's therapeutical in a way if you don't want to think too much about it, taking up your time or taking up your space in your mind.
Yeah.
Labeling isn't always bad, I think. You can kind of label it so that you can move on, kind of thing. I suppose.
I mean, so I think you can label people or certain things as like, okay, so if you're thinking in like a fighting game sense,
label though.
Yeah, it should be temporary. But that's the thing about labels is that as long as the label's on there, then you have like a very kind of a stereotypical view of that person. But like you said, temporary labels, it can be useful in like if you're playing like in a tournament. Like we said, in a open bracket tournament, you don't know all the players, and you have to kind of make a label for that player. It's like, oh, that player is like a defensive something kind of player. And when you do that, you can kind of approach that player in a certain way. If you make the player that you're approaching, that you're fighting, into a very complex thing, you're not going to be able to like figure it out, right? In that moment. And so I think the thing about labeling here is these are negative labels we're talking about. So I think it's in the video as well, like you can label somebody, I guess defensive player is a way to label somebody, right? But I think in this cognitive behavioral therapy sense, the labeling is like a negative thing that's not helpful, like coward.
Yeah.
Like my opponent is a coward. Right. If you say your opponent is a defensive player, you are also kind of labeling them in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's the negative label that's not very helpful. If someone is a coward, I even put in the video, if you call someone a coward, that means that now you're saying that they should come to you, which is they're not going to do that. Like if you play a really good zoner, why would they come to you when they're just fine?
You just made things worse, I guess, by labeling them negatively.
But if you take a useful label like you're saying, there are useful labels, and like you said, temporary.
Yeah,
that's what
has to be on a post-it. Don't put your label on the super glue.
Don't put like permanent marker on a board.
Yeah.
But when you say that opponent is a defensive player, then at least in that moment you're like, okay, I have to find a way in.
Yeah,
I have to
change it up a little.
Yeah, I have to change it up. And then like you said, it should be temporary because that defensive player might go on the offense. I mean, if you saw Kakeru play, he's like somebody who will just be defensive, and then he'll just like go in like when you least suspect it with a teleport. And I mean, you're a Dawson player, you know this.
Yeah,
like,
I do this all the time.
Yeah,
I'm sure I've been labeled coward so many times, and I know this.
Yes.
And I take pride in it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, I labeled you a mashing scrub.
Yeah.
So
well, that's
I got the
partially
last
true
laugh
too.
on you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Not gonna deny that.
Personalization. This was very interesting. We got an interview with Apology Man, and when I came to personalization, I immediately thought about Apology Man's story. And this was before the podcast. I actually talked to him in Korea when he came for a Guilty Gear event.
Yeah.
And he told me the story about his name. I'm like, oh, I have to get that on the podcast and then get that on this video.
Yeah. Now a lot of people know the lore, the
Of
origin
Apology Man.
story. No, not many people knew. I was surprised. I thought people knew, at least people around him, but
I didn't know
was very
either,
cool.
but it's a very funny story because like, and he felt that way. I mean, he was kind of a kid who was like a bit naive and stuff, but that does come from a place of empathy. It's like you don't want to like hurt your opponent. He's like the opposite of punk, right?
Yeah.
He's like apologizing because he did some like kind of scrubby thing to win and it worked. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry I made you look like an idiot. It's like, oh wait, I'm sorry for saying sorry. And like it's like it's funny. And but that is what it is to personalize. When you personalize things and you put the blame all on yourself for a certain outcome or something. And the thing is, like, one of the things I mentioned in this part of the video was that you can personalize to the point where you're really just being too hard on yourself. And of course, it's noble to show, especially in certain East Asian cultural contexts, to take all the blame and say that you were the one that you were the one that was responsible, and all the blame was on you. And but the thing is, generally, people will be like, well, okay, it wasn't all on that person, but that person is just saying it to absorb the outcome. And this is more about communication and reading between the lines.
Sometimes it's usually not intentional. So I guess people don't, rub it the wrong way. But in the heat of the moment, you don't know what's going to happen. So
yeah. That's the personalization thing is
expanding on that a little bit. Recently, we had your Salt video reaction done by ex-member of the Best Friends Play.
Oh, Pat. Pat stares at. Yeah.
So he made a funny comment on that where the reason why saying sorry to your opponent after winning is bad is because they're kind of saying, oh, I'm sorry that I thought you were a good player.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that I gave you this high expectation. After the result, you were just a mashing scrub. That's what the word sorry represents in that sense.
Oh man.
That's why you have to be careful. Even if you're apologizing for good intentions, it can be taken the wrong way.
Oh, absolutely. Especially to somebody salty.
Yeah.
I when you win, this is an interesting conversation because when you beat somebody in a tournament,
oh, holy crap!
Say?
I just had an episphany. I actually did that to someone.
You said sorry?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
But I totally didn't mean that. And you know who it was? It was Gamer B.
It's Gamer B.
At last year's Evo Japan, I beat him.
Oh
no! I didn't even say it to him. Oh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for this.
You did beat Gamer B.
I beat him.
Yeah.
I said it to his wife.
You said it to his wife?
Oh, I'm such a terrible person. I just remembered this.
You beat Gamer B?
I
and
beat
you
Gamer
apologized?
B. And he streams. He IRL streams.
Yeah.
I said that on the stream to his wife. I'm such a terrible person.
Oh, I'm sorry I crushed your husband. Just letting you know.
We have to invite Gamer B
apology.
to
he
the
was supposed
podcast.
to be on
when we were in Japan.
Yeah, when we were
right?
in Japan, but he couldn't make it. He got sick.
I have to apologize to him. Yeah. I'm gonna be the apology man.
You're gonna change your name to Apology Man. You're gonna be like Apology Fighter instead of Burnout Fighter. If you're a fan
of Gamer B, please tell him I didn't mean it that way. I gotta explain why I said sorry, right? I said sorry because I played Dalsim, he played Luke.
Yeah.
And very bad matchup for Dalsim. I won because he made a mistake.
Oh.
I confess right now.
Okay.
So this is for Street Fighter players, and if you don't know Street Fighter too much, Dalsim has a teleport, and if you're a good player, you can react to the teleport and you can punish it.
Yeah.
He was doing that 90% of the time in that match.
Okay.
He dropped one of them, and I took that advantage and I won it.
Wow. Okay, so he was like jabbing you out of the teleport.
Jab and DP and everything.
DP everything.
So normally, I'm already my mentality was already shattered. I can't beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was doing it from the get-go.
Yeah.
So my biggest escape option in the fighting game universe, my escape option is to teleport out to the other side. But once my escape option is blocked, then I'm like, I labeled myself the loser because I'm gonna lose. He's too good.
Yeah.
He's ready for this.
Yeah.
I was hoping he wasn't, but he was.
Yeah. So you're fortune telling. You're saying I'm gonna lose this match now.
I had 7 cognitive distortions at once.
Yeah.
And then he made a mistake, and I took advantage of it, and I won.
Wow.
And because again I am human, I shouldn't have won that. I knew that I shouldn't have won that.
Yeah. So you felt bad about it.
So I felt really bad. And I look back, I shake hands, look back, his wife, Taiwanese players all watching, stream with 3,000 viewers.
Oh.
And I didn't plan to say I'm sorry.
Yeah. It just came out.
I looked at their faces and they were sad, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see my friends look sad. So I said sorry. But I realized too late that I shouldn't have said that.
You know what this means? You know what this means? You are worse than Punk.
Oh!
Yeah, you're worse than Punk. Because Punk at least acknowledges, like, ha, I won. And
Should I? See, but I can't say, oh, I beat you guys. Ha ha ha. Try your luck next time, next year. I can't say that.
yeah, well, I I don't know. You could say that.
Next time we're inviting Gamer B to the podcast, and I'm apologizing to him.
All right, apology fighter is your new tag now from now on.
Okay.
So anyways, so yeah, that's all the cognitive distortions. That was personalization, the last one. A lot of funny stories from these cognitive distortions. But I guess, yeah, the point I made was generally your friends are the kind of people that will make your cognitive distortions go away or fight the cognitive distortions, and the bullies are the people who will exacerbate them. If you look at like labeling, that's like name calling, right? That's basically name calling.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So bullies will try to exacerbate that, and the point of that was you don't want to be your own bully, because if you really believe your cognitive distortions, you are basically saying like what M. Bison would say in a Win quote or something, or Akuma would just say like, "Oh, pathetic fool," you know, or something to yourself, which is like you got to be your own homie, right? And it's very hard to do to treat yourself nice, but it makes logical sense, and so that's kind of that whole section. And I did the animation with like I'm really proud of that animation, because I was like, how am I gonna express this? And of course, I always use Third Strike sprites, because
they're always really good.
Third Strike has some of the best sprites like in fighting games. Like maybe just second to like King of Fighters 13, that has amazing sprites. But yeah, that was something that I was really proud of. But the next thing, the magic button, is something that I asked everybody, which I think it's a very fun question to get rid of the salt. Yeah. So this talks about another David Burns technique. The other one where I talk about the treating yourself like a friend, that is actually another David Burns technique called the double standard technique.
Double standard, yeah.
But the magic button is something that David Burns called Team CBT, and CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, of course. But Team, I think, also stood for something. I forgot the name, what that acronym stood for. Oh. But the idea was dialing down your feelings instead of pressing a magic button, right? And of course, nobody wants to press that magic button to get rid of all their salt. It's like, because then if you don't feel anything after you lose, then how are you going to get motivated to do better? If you don't feel anything, how are you going to, be motivated to do anything, right?
Sure.
And so dialing it down is the suggestion. And when you do that, then you don't have to change yourself and your whole identity as a person. You can just adjust yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so there are people who everyone is salty, but like, it's not about never being salty. That's not the goal. It's about toning it down. And of course, I think the Shen, Mike Ross, and Punk had some really good things to say about this. I think Shen was talking about how it kind of, you see that people who behave poorly because they're salt have to learn how to behave better,
how to grow up,
how to grow. And of course, that when you're in a community, you're accountable to other people in that community. So you end up adjusting yourself to where, yeah, people understand if you're salty, but they don't understand it if you like start like damaging other people's property and stuff like that. So yeah, and of course, this whole thing is kind of the FGC and fighting games is kind of a microcosm for the whole world, and this is why we play games. And I use Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, which is a very interesting book. I only use a section of the book to talk about the idea of games becoming a developmental tool for children. But the ideas apply in adulthood as well. When you talk about sports and esports or competitive gaming, there's things to learn, and it's why we play these games. And I think that pretty much covers the whole video. I think there's a lot of things for people to pick up on. One thing I noticed about the video, if you look at the when you go on YouTube and you go to the playhead, and you can see
most watched
portions of the video. I'm kind of proud on this video that the most watched portions, there's no one moment. It's like
very
there's
even.
like 20 moments or 30 moments. They're just all over the place because people are using different parts to to go back and see, like, because some people, all or nothing is their issue. For some
Right.
people, they need to, figure out their should or must statement. They want to, so everyone's kind of there. People are really getting use out of the video by looking at different parts of
Yeah.
it, and they're studying it, and that's
If
really
the
cool.
graph was a roller coaster, it's a very evenly made roller coaster. There's no super highs or super lows. It's like up and down, very, very cozy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, and a lot of people are finding it very useful. If you look at
Yeah.
the comments in the video, like, there's a lot of people who were like, "Wow, this is something I can apply to my life," and
Definitely,
so
yeah.
I'm really happy with the way this video came out.
Yeah.
And of course,
thankfully, a lot of the influencers also kind of looked at it and then gave it their own opinions as well, which was really like insightful as well.
yeah,
Brian F.
I love it when
yeah.
people, like, they don't have to agree with how I put something or
Yeah.
whatever, as long as they watch it and they get something out of it and they can start a conversation. That's usually, I think that's the goal when you
Yeah,
can have
similarly,
debate.
like I guess like this isn't like a statement that is this is always the case, because obviously, like, once again, we're not like the super professionals in psychology or the science for that matter.
Yeah.
And I guess there are some proven cases where depending on, I guess, the individual's personality or whatever symptoms they go through, the CBT method isn't always the answer. Sometimes it is ineffective. Yeah,
exactly.
Because it does require your features of being able to digest the idea first, rather than just taking it as advice, right? So
Yeah, there's at one point in the video, before I go through the cognitive distortions, I make a reminder that this video is not a replacement for a therapist or reading the book, because there's so much more in the book. If anyone's interested in this video, I recommend that they go check out the actual book, and there's a lot of things that are useful. And
yeah, I think it is healthier that you reflect upon some of the counter opinions, because that then you can kind of find the right path to the solutions.
Yeah,
if it's not always correct.
Yeah, I listen to people's comments and criticisms, and even like Brian F's kind of his view on the definition of salt. The point of this video was not defining salt; it was just one part of it, and it kind of gave me an excuse to bring cognitive behavioral therapy into it. But Brian F's comments about about how salt, the way he sees it, is a more specific definition of the anger portion of it, and that's why I wanted to make a follow-up video, and that's what inspired me to make a follow-up video.
Hopefully, we can have a chat with him too in the near future. As
Oh
well.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm happy to be on his podcast, and I'm sure he'll be happy to be on our podcast. I know he watches Korea Gaming and
My
likes the videos.
ex-teammate too.
Oh yeah, Equinox. Yeah,
Yeah.
shout outs.
Shout-outs.
So that's really cool.
He was really happy that our stick made it into the cut.
Oh
The
really?
Equinox
The
stick.
Equinox cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
That was pretty
Had the
cool.
sticker.
Yeah.
I think I labeled you a
Coward. Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Which I don't deny either.
You're a Dawson player.
I'm a coward
You're a born
player.
coward. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Peace.